Shalom, I am Rabbi Shaul Praver. You're watching Rabbi Rock. I want to tell you about an 8th grade social studies teacher that I had that taught history in such a beautiful fashion. He became animated, he became the characters that he taught. He became Paul Revere, he became George Washington, he became Thomas Jefferson, and he brought history alive. One of the great history books of the Jewish people in this recent era of the Holocaust was the Diary of Anne Frank, and it's very popular, and I believe it's popular and resonates with people because it's the story of a person. It's the story of a life of a family, and that we can relate to. History is an exciting subject, but it's all the way that you tell the story. Jewish people have the oral law, not just the written law. The oral tradition is where the tradition lives, where the Jewish people live, through the telling of the stories, the telling of our destiny, the telling of our history. For example, the word Pesach, a Hasidic vort, an idea of extrapolating on the word Pesach. Pe is the mouth, Sach is that speaks. Pesach, the mouth that speaks. Sha'al avicha v'yagedcha. If you want to know history, ask your father. He'll tell you. Ask your mother. The living history of our people must be told from father to son, from mother to son. And that is why we're here again, once again, with Dr. Herbert Ausubel, an awesome, innovative, creative history expert who is going to tell us the story of many great people in our history. Welcome once again, Dr. Ausubel.
Thank you.
The year is 1739 in the Common Era. Your name is Antonio Jose de Silva. You're going to tell the story of the ending of the Portuguese Inquisition. Bring us there.
I was born in Rio de Janeiro. My father and mother were secret Jews. To keep the family alive, my father wrote poems in the name or remembering every saint practically in the calendar. Every weekend he would have lunches with distinguished friars and priests. My mother felt this was a little bit hypocritical. She didn't go around announcing that she was a secret Jewish. That would guarantee her death. She just didn't go to church. Now, we had come to Portugal from Spain, going back to 1492. And then the King of Portugal had decided to marry the daughter of Ferdinand Isabella, and they required that the Inquisition extend to Portugal. So some Jews left as best they could to get as far away from the Inquisition as they could, and that's why we were ending up in Brazil. Now, this is some time later. In the interim, the Dutch had taken over Brazil for a while so we could reassert Judaism. When the Portuguese took Brazil back, we were now secret Jews. My mother was arrested by the office of the Grand Inquisitor and sent back to Lisbon. Needless to say, my father was terrified. Incidentally, he was a very prominent attorney. And we came back as a family to Lisbon, and my father pleaded with the inquisitors, and finally they made an arrangement. He would turn over all our family assets to the Inquisition. We would be obliged to spend the rest of our lives in Lisbon so that they could keep a careful eye on us. You only get two shots. The first time you can confess and repent. The second time you're burnt at the stake.
It's not America, 3 strikes and you're out.
No, no. 2 strikes and you're finished. Well, so we're living in Lisbon. Needless to say, I was horrified and terribly fearful that I might lose my mother. And it had a profound effect on me. In any case, I decided to follow some of my father's wisdom. I went to law school to get a good education so I'd know what I have to watch myself against. One day in the confines of my room, no one around, and not intending anything for publication, I wrote a little satiric poem about the Inquisition. Lo and behold, those mamzerim went searching through my drawers. Apparently they've been doing this all along. And I had 2 siblings. They've been checking everything we've been doing. This is now 15 years later.
What did you say?
What did I say? They arrested me.
What did you say in the poem?
Oh, I just made some mocking fun of the Inquisition. Like a kid might write a mocking poem.
Okay.
Well, they put my hands through the mangles. You know what a mangle is?
No.
You press your clothes with it.
Oh.
Which meant I would never be able to write again. And I was to confess. Unfortunately, I couldn't sign the confession. The hands were both broken. So here I am. I decided I'm going to get additional knowledge. I'm going to go and get an education in ecclesiastical law in addition to regular law. But this all burnt within me. I, as an individual, as a human being, have an obligation to do what I can to end this Inquisition. Now I want to marry. Who am I going to marry? I'd like to have, quotes, a secret Jewish family. How would I know who's a secret Jewess?
It's a big secret.
Tell it to some young lady, by the way, I'm Jewish. She mentions it to someone, you're toast. How do you figure out who might be a secret Jewess? Well, her father got burned at the stake. Her grandfather got burned at the stake. That's a hell of a way to have to get to know people. And so I married.
You found somebody that had such yichus.
I found such yichus.
Yes.
And we had a daughter, and my wife is pregnant. Now let me go back a little.
Yes, please.
I am writing plays, and I'm a poet.
Where
and
are
I've
you
become in Portugal, all in Portugal. I have become the most famous poet and playwright in Portugal. The nobility, the crown prince, attends all my openings.
How are you writing it?
My wife is my hands.
Ah. So you had to make sure she had...
Well, she's got hands still.
Okay.
God forbid they should hurt her hands. In any case, now, a number of my plays, not all of my plays, many of them are comedies. Many of them are satires on the Inquisition. But I make sure at the end of every play to have an announcer come out and announce, this was all in jest, that the Inquisition is absolutely essential for the survival of Portugal and for the survival of our faith. This doesn't fool the Grand Inquisitor, Father Theotonio. It's burning at his heart, at his soul.
He knows.
And finally, and as a matter of fact, everyone else knows. As a matter of fact, I'm referred to as O Judeo, the Jew. I've never said that I was a Jew. And mind you, I'm just like my dad. I'm having dinner and lunch with every friar and every priest in the neighborhood.
And you're telling the story of the saints.
And I'm telling the story of the saints. And despite it all, he knows deep down, this guy ain't fooling me. In any case, they come to my house and they arrest me. And I am sent to the corregidor, which is the prison with the dungeons.
Yes.
My wife is arrested. My mother is arrested. My wife is pregnant. She gives birth to a child. The child is removed. My daughter, Lorenza, she's removed to the house to be brought into a Christian family, never to know anything further about her family. Well, 2 years are going by. No trial. And finally, the Crown Prince is demanding, why is Antonio José de Silva being kept there? They're going to have a trial. And so they did have a trial. And they brought, well, I had a defense attorney, defense attorneys. They were honored to be my defense attorneys. They bring in witnesses with such outrageous claims,
Like?
beyond human belief. One says, I was staring out of the window at the sun, Well, so my attorney asked him, if you were behind him, how could you tell that he was staring at the sun? To which the judge interrupted, if you question the integrity of a witness brought by the Grand Inquisitor, you yourself may be subject to the Inquisition and its consequences.